I don't know. I don't like. So that's what we're teaching kids in schools nowadays. Just fake money, and we're not teaching them anything about economics or.
I mean, it's elementary school. No, they use money to count and to barter and to buy things. It's just not real money.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
So they have to earn it. Then they
Yeah.
have to use that money to buy something they want. And then once they buy something they want, they can actually trade that with other people. And then they try to figure out the value. Was that a good trade or not? There's actually some pretty good skills in there.
I do kind of like that.
Yeah.
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
What grade?
That's fifth grade, but they did that, I think, in last year or the year before, third or fourth.
Jake's a very good parent for those listening, by the way. He's really in tune with what his daughters are doing. Some parents aren't in tune nowadays with what their kids are doing in school. My God. I saw a tweet earlier this week from somebody that I follow on Twitter, a former scout, and he talked about hitters sinking into their legs when they're hitting at the major league level. And he showed pictures of it, which I kind of liked what he was talking about there. Do you agree with that theory? Sinking into your legs as a hitter?
We probably say that about 70 times a day at the lab.
Okay. We've never said it on this podcast, which I'm surprised at.
Yeah, sinking into the legs is really important. That's like the first step to building ground force.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it helps us get to low pitches so that we don't have to manipulate our hands quite as much. So, yeah, getting in the legs is really important. It's really important in the load early, but most important at heel plant when we land, we can get into our legs, we can keep our hands back, and we can make really good adjustments from there.
Mm-hmm. So what's the easiest way to go about sinking into the legs? I mean, it sounds easy.
It does sound easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
If you want to show up at the lab tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Central Time for certification training, we'll be going over sinking into the legs in depth.
I'll be there.
No, I mean, just there's different ways to do it, and you have to be careful which way to do it because you could end up getting too much weight forward. But one of the easy things that I tell kids to do is pretend no matter where they start, if they start like Bellinger, that's fine. If they start, somebody, I'm thinking of a crouch guy. Who's a crouch guy? Wendell, is he a crouch guy? I don't know.
Wendell, a little bit.
Crouch, right? When you stride, I tell them you're stepping into a short room, a room that has a short ceiling. And if you start to get up or you push off the ground, you'll hit your head on the ceiling. So you got to make sure you stride and get under that ceiling so you don't hit your head. And in doing so, what players will do is a lot of times they'll bend both legs all the way through the swing. So then we tell them, look, you got to get under the ceiling, but you still got to be able to push back and brace that front leg and block that thing out. So the only way to do that is to sink into the back leg. The back leg has to receive more of that. Yeah. So in turn, you're stepping and sinking really into the back leg, but you have to make sure you do it with a weight shift because if you don't do it with a weight shift, then you'll collapse your backside. So it's a risky thing, but once kids learn how to do it, they just have to be reminded of it because they get lazy, especially in BP or especially when you see them off a tee. I'll tell you that all the Latin players that I do the scouting work for, none of them get in their legs in batting practice. None. They're all very upright. It's just the way it is, right? They're just finding barrels and hitting line drives, and maybe the last couple swings of BP, you'll see them like get a little bit bigger with the stride, and they'll try to juice it. And then you see them in games, and they get a little bit wider, and they get into their legs more. So really, you have to have a weight shift, and you have to get wide enough in the stride. And if you do that, you'll get in your legs.